There we go. We are live. Sorry about the delay, everybody. What's going on? It is Friday, May 3rd. Got a 13-game slate ahead of us. I was really surprised to not see the Angels on here, but whatever. I'm excited to play. I can't wait till we get to 7 o'clock. It's going to be a long one. We've got a ton of content today. Awesome Odds betting show coming up directly after this. Yahoo-specific DFS show coming up at 12:45. We'll have the deeper dive from 4:45 until 6 with Adam and Laffy, and then live before lock, myself, Jake Hari, closing it down, and then Fast Eddie Fear, breaking down the 2-game NBA slate. But we are packed from start to finish. Adam, what's going on? How was your Thursday?
It was okay. I don't think it was quite as good as yours. How'd you end up doing yesterday?
Binked the beanball for the second day in a row, which
There you go.
is odd and really fun. Kind of made me want to play it again last night for the 2-gamer, but I stepped away.
Yeah.
I wanted to defend the belt, but I just couldn't do it. It was too ugly. I just didn't
Yeah.
want. I didn't want any part of the 2-gamer. So I'm going
do
back
it
for the
on a real
title today.
plate, but you might have some real competition today because I think today will be my first day on FanDuel in a month.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm gonna have to break you down, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. MLB
I
strategy.
really hope I wouldn't now.
What'd you say?
I was saying it'll be great if I just like log on or deposit for the first time in a month, win that, and then can just talk shit to you again.
Not to me, it won't. Well, I'll be happy for you as long as I win too. I'm happy if we both do.
Yeah, I'm happy if I do, and I don't really care what you do.
That's fair. That's a reasonable stance to take. MLB Strategy is the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. All you have to do is enter the promo code MLB Strategy, and you'll get 50% off. We are also presented by Yahoo Sports. I'm going to drop the link into chat right now. Yahoo is the presenting sponsor of this show, Monday through Sunday, every single day, now that I think about it. They are the presenting sponsor of the Deeper Dive, Monday to Friday, and of the Early Bird podcast. So we're very happy to be working with Yahoo. At some point in time, I'll drop this link in here and actually tell the truth about what I'm saying. There we go. If you'd like to sign up for Yahoo, we would really appreciate it if you do it through that link. It's very beneficial to us. Will not change your experience at all. And you can use the promo code AWESOME once you get there and get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Yahoo running their $15 10 max 2K to first tournament today. One of my favorite tournament structures in the industry right now. 10 max, you don't have to worry about going up against another 150. Their management fees are lower than everybody else's. Sometimes you get that tournament with no management fee whatsoever. And the payouts are perfect. It's not this massive amount to first, and then it tails off to the point where you barely feel like you're making your money back, even though you had a top 1% percentile, or a 1 percentile lineup, 99th percentile lineup. Got to go the other direction with it. You guys know what I mean?
Top 1%.
Yeah, top 1% lineup, a 99th percentile outcome.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. Still early. I'm about halfway through cup 2 of coffee, so we're getting there. Highly recommend you play at Yahoo. Follow the link that I pasted. We've got 13 games. You ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's go.
Whew, okay. Baltimore Orioles hosting the Tampa Bay Rays. 3.7 run implied total for the Orioles. 5.3 for the Rays. It's a 66% chance to win for Tampa. Dan Straley going for Baltimore. Tyler Glasnow going for Tampa. I have no interest whatsoever in Straley. The Rays grade out as my number one stack on all sites relative to their price. Glasnow looks great. The problem is there's like a million dudes in the pitching slate today. He is in this group with Kershaw and Boyd, Shane Bieber, Kevin Gausman, depending on the sites, that all look really similar to me, dollar for dollar. So what's your take on Glasnow here against the Orioles?
I mean, yeah, I really like him. It's tough. James Paxton at a similar price point. I'll take him over Kershaw all day, but I'm with you. It's kind of a loaded top range, but then also a lot of mid-range pitchers that I really like too. So it's a slate where I expect my pitching exposure to be spread out a little bit more than normal. Probably will end up a little bit more concentrated on bats maybe, but Yeah, I mean, I really like Glasnow. There's nothing about the spot that I don't like. He's been really good. We've said I mean, everyone said basically since he came up that if he could figure out how to throw strikes consistently, he would be an elite pitcher. And since coming over to Tampa Bay, he has figured it out. So that's good. It's a favorable matchup against the Orioles. You know, the only way that this would be better would be if it was in Tampa Bay, but that's not that much of a concern to me.
Yeah, I ended up with, we have ownership projections out right now. Glass now at 2% on FanDuel, 10% on DK. I have 5 on FanDuel and 5 on DK. I'm going to be in that range. He just grades out behind 2 other guys and in this same group. So salary will play a big role here. But he looks fantastic. I have no qualms with him. He is one of 5 pitchers on FanDuel, 4 on DraftKings that have a greater than 10% chance of hitting their target score. So he's a fantastic option, and the Orioles are pretty bad and strike out a lot. There's not much more to like other than it's just a loaded pitching slate. Any guesses as to what Dan Straley's FIP is projected for in Steamer?
7.5.
I mean, you're getting there. 6.14. That's bad.
Yeah.
The worst I've seen. I assume we're not talking about him at all.
No.
Talk to me.
I mean, he's going to throw it down, but
yeah, he is not rosterable to me. Let's talk about Rays bats. They are the chalk stack on FanDuel by quite a bit. They are the chalk stack on DraftKings as well. Not as big of a separation. I am massively over the field on DK and have about 2/3 of the ownership on FanDuel. So talk to me about what you want to do with the Rays.
I want to get to their bats a lot, and I think that it's a deep lineup too. So it's a nice park shift for Tampa Bay going into Camden Yards. Dan Straley this year has just been getting blasted by lefties and righties. It doesn't matter. He's always been a fly ball pitcher that he benefited when he was pitching in Miami from his long fly balls being caught on the warning track. Not the case here in Baltimore. And you have a lot of power in the Tampa Bay lineup. You don't get a lot of swings and misses from Straley. So it just is a really dangerous spot for him. And, like I said, it's a deep Tampa Bay lineup when you have most likely Mike Zunino as your 8 hitter with an ISO over 200, everyone above him with some power in their bats as well. There's a lot of different ways that you can stack this team, and I really like them. They're also, for the most part, pretty affordable.
Yeah, they are very affordable. As I mentioned, they are my number 1 stack on a dollar for dollar basis on all the sites. Really hard not to want to get there. We have Zunino projected for 3% ownership right now. I had 27 on my first run.
I'll take the over.
Yeah. Either way, I'm going to end up. He's the guy that I have the most of for the Rays. Anytime that I can get a pitcher or a catcher with that sort of power, like that's the kind of guy I want as part of my stacks. So any Rays stack is made better by Zunino. What did you especially about what?
I said especially in tournaments. There are certainly some slates where I would prefer someone else at catcher. I don't think this is one of them in cash. Like he's probably still the best play. But like there's at least an argument to be made in cash games for guys that, are more productive overall at the expense of power. But in tournaments, all I really care about is can he hit the ball over the fence?
100%. That's a great point. Favorite Rays bat?
I mean, it's kind of always Brandon Lau for me, but
he grades out as my top bat as well.
Yeah, I think that like the price tags are pretty favorable on guys like Garcia and Nate Lowe.
Yeah, the only guy that doesn't grade out well for me is Yandy Diaz, and he's still someone that I will get to. He's just like there are 2 other first basemen that are cheaper than him that grade out better than that.
Yeah, he also doesn't grade out well for you because he's never hit for power in his life until this season. So either he's going to go flying backwards or he changed something in his swing and his projections are just going to be too low.
Yeah, 125 projected ISO out of him. That is the lowest of everyone in the starting lineup. So
Steamer had him projected for 7 home runs this year. He hit 7 home runs in April.
That'll do it. Baltimore bats, it's still just VR for me. Or Chris Davis on Yahoo for $7, but I am not looking to get any part of Baltimore.
No, VR is the one that I like because Glass now does struggle to hold runners, and VR is reasonably priced. If he gets on base, it should be a steal. We said that yesterday about Jose Peraza, who then got on base and didn't run, so who knows? But it's a spot where VR should be able to run, and he's affordably priced. Like Dwight Smith, the same thing applies to him, but he's expensive, and I don't really feel the need to pay up for him in the outfield.
I agree. I think we're good to move on.
Yep.
Phillies and Nats. Phillies 5-run implied total. Nats 4.1. It's a 59% chance to win for Philadelphia. Jared Eichhoff going for the Phillies. Jeremy Hellickson going for Washington. Certainly not rostering Hellickson. I think he sucks. I think most people think he sucks. I'm really interested to get your take on Eichhoff, who had a pretty awesome start in his last one. I got to 11% on DraftKings. We've got him at 4% on Yahoo, 9% projected on DraftKings. How do you feel about him here in the $7,400 price tag on DK?
I like him. I like him a lot as a pitcher. I think that he's more talented than a $7,400 price tag. It's obviously a tough matchup against the Nats, but you also don't have Rendon in the lineup. You may not have Juan Soto, which would be a huge deal. And, if that's the case, then suddenly they're starting to get, a little bit more strikeout heavy and a lot less dangerous if you're missing both of those guys. So I like him regardless, but obviously we'll like him more if Soto is out. He's another Philly pitcher who has had better strikeout numbers at home throughout his career. That holds true for pretty much the entire staff. And he's just reasonably priced. He has good stuff. All three of his starts this year, he's had double-digit swinging strike percentages, which has been good to see. He hasn't had super difficult matchups. He's faced the Mets, the Rockies, and the Marlins. But at the same time, he is someone who I've kind of always believed in him. And, the fact that he's pitching well isn't surprising to me. So I like him. It's just that as we go through this slate, there are going to be other guys that I think have a little bit more favorable matchups and are just as good, if not better.
Yeah, he's just not somebody that I expect to get to with any sort of volume. He's a guy in the mid-tier of pricing that I'm fine with having.
Right.
Is really the only way that I can say it. Like there's him, Robbie Ray, Joe Musgrove, Brandon Woodruff even. Like all of those guys are pretty similar to me. I mean, I'm generalizing a little bit, but I don't have much preference in anything there. So it's not a focus of mine, especially in a matchup against the Nats. Now, if Juan Soto ends up not being in there, like that really changes the game. It brings the talent level in this lineup down a lot.
Right. Like I'd rather Musgrove than Eichhoff. I would take Eichhoff over Woodruff.
I would too, for the record.
But then also like you have, and those are guys just all priced really right around each other. But then for like $1,000 more, you have Kevin Gausman in Miami, and you have Sonny Gray against the Giants, who I'm not sure what your stance is on Gray, but I absolutely love the guy. So
I have no Gray right now, but I guess we'll get there.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a pretty loaded mid-range of pitching.
Yeah, there's just so much there. And I'm with you on the Gausman call out. Like I would much rather just go all the way there. Yeah, we obviously don't need to talk about Hellickson unless you're crazy. Talking bats, Philly grades out better than the Nationals. That should be no real surprise. I am roughly equal with the field on the Phillies. 6% aggregate projected on FanDuel, 8% on DK. It's about where I am. Nats side, not a lot of ownership. So I'm actually double the field on the Nats on both sites, but double is still minimal. And that I don't mind. That will also change if Juan Soto ends up being out. But I don't mind targeting against Eichhoff. I don't think that he is fantastic by any means. I don't think that the Nats should go unowned like they are currently projecting to go. But the preference is definitely more volume to the Phillies bats. Yeah,
I agree with you. From the Nats side, I think that any lefty power that's in there is appealing. Matt Adams should be in there, and then Soto, may or may not be. And from the Philly side, again, preferring left-handed power. Bryce Harper's been really bad, but for context, he's the same price as Dwight Smith Jr. on DraftKings.
Oh my God, it's weird. I don't think those guys are the same. How much more money does Harper make for that price tag?
Right. I assume Smith's making like $500K or something.
Right. And Harper's making that per game.
Right. Yeah. For like a bat or something. So Harper, I think, is still just underpriced. Like, he's at a price point where we know who Bryce Harper is. We know he'll go through some slumps throughout a season, but if he's $4,600 every day for the rest of the season and you play him every day, you're getting, you're coming out ahead. So pretty easy play, I think, on Harper there. And the rest of the guys are, they're good hitters. I prefer lefties against Hellickson, and it's a mostly right-handed lineup, but they're still better hitters than Hellickson as a pitcher. So I like Philly. If Nick Williams is in there batting fifth or sixth, I think he's a good value play too.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wish I had somebody that stood out. I mean, Harper stands out, but that's also not a secret. He's projected for 26% ownership. So very popular cash play on DraftKings if you're interested.
Yep.
Which you should be because he's 4,600 and he's Bryce Harper. You don't really need to know anything else about his ownership. I'd just safely slot him into anything that I was doing, knowing those two things. Favorite bat in this game that isn't Bryce Harper?
Nick Williams.
Really? Okay.
Matt Adams.
Yeah. Yep. It would probably be McCutchen for me, as it normally is. I like the Nick Williams call. I mean, he's got a lot of power, and he's not a guy that is typically focused on. Although 19% projected ownership on FanDuel right now, he is 2,100. That should not be terribly surprising either.
Yeah.
It's a freebie spot for a guy with power. Like, that's the kind of stuff you're looking for in a tournament. Pirates and A's, 3.9 run implied total for the Pirates, 3.7 for the A's, 51% chance to win for Pittsburgh. Joe Musgrove going for the Pirates, Brett Anderson going for the A's. Not a lot of ownership going to Musgrove on Yahoo, where he's $48. He's not as aggressively priced on DraftKings, where he is projected for 25% ownership. I got 14, but I like Musgrove here against Oakland. They run really heavy to the right-handed or the right side. Strike out slightly a bit more than average. So Musgrove is a guy I have my eye on. Brett Anderson is certainly not a guy I have my eye on. Talk to me about Musgrove.
Yeah, I like Musgrove a lot here. I think, and again, 48 on Yahoo. I don't feel the need to get there on this slate, but 7,200 on DraftKings. He should be in the same price range as Gossman and Sonny Gray, in my opinion. He's a really good pitcher, I think, and he's facing a Oakland team that is projected to have 6 right-handed hitters plus a pitcher in their lineup. You have, so far this season, a 15.3% swinging strike percentage against righties from Musgrove, a 123 expected ISO, a 270 expected WOBA. And on top of their, being most of the power in the Oakland lineup being right-handed, it's not a good park for left-handed power either. So it's just, I think, a really good spot for Musgrove. Obviously, there are talented hitters in the Oakland lineup, but I give the edge to Musgrove. I think the price tag's too cheap. I expect I'll have more of him than Eichhoff or anyone else in that price range.
Yeah, he's the guy that I have the most of right now, 14% still, but it's him, Eichhoff at 11, and then I'm going up to the Bieber, Kevin Gausman category. But I agree, he should be priced a little bit higher. It gets weird to me that Brandon Woodruff is $100 more than him, but whatever. It's also not that big of a deal. It's not like you're going crazy to get him either. I wish this game was in Oakland, but that's neither here nor there.
Why?
I just love taking people in Oakland.
I don't like taking pitchers in Oakland quite as much.
Any reason?
Because foul balls end up being outs instead of strikeouts.
That's a good point. That is a very relevant piece. What's their K park factor? I don't have it in here. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'll say going from memory, I don't think it's it's obviously a good park for limiting production, but
Sure.
It's not a good strikeout park going from memory. That could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
Last year, no, because now I just want to know. A's, slight pitcher's park. For strikeouts, actually. Not that that's terribly surprising. I mean, park factors for strikeouts are way more narrow than they are for other categories. 96 being the low for the Rockies, 105 for the Phillies. And that makes perfect sense. We know strikeouts jump in Philadelphia. I don't have any Pirates of 1% aggregate exposure. I don't really have any A's outside of one-offing Kendry Morales at 2,900 on DraftKings. Do you have any interest in bats in this game?
Not really. So if obviously I really like Musgrove. If his ownership were to like skyrocket, which I don't expect to happen just because of how many options there are,
He
but
is
if it
third
were
right now, by the way.
okay, yeah, I mean,
1% behind James Paxton for second.
I expect him to be up there, but I doubt that we get him to some like crazy number. But Chris Davis is a good leverage play. I mean, he's just a better power hitter than $4,200 on DraftKings, and obviously he has upside, and if he homers off Musgrove, it's bad for Musgrove. So I do like Chris Davis in tournaments if I'm not rostering Musgrove.
Yeah, he's at 1% ownership. And I mean, simply put, at $4,200, Chris Davis is a better fantasy option than Joe Musgrove is today. It just so happens that like the rest of the team is, not as great. But one off and Chris Davis, no problem with it whatsoever.
Yeah, I would expect that a large percentage of my lineups that do not have Joe Musgrove have Chris Davis.
There you go. Let's see. On Yahoo, that's the wrong game. Pirates and no interest in these guys on Yahoo either. Trying to see if there was any value going anywhere. Starling Marte is $10 on Yahoo. That's probably the most appealing thing in this game.
Yeah, that's a really, really, really good price tag.
Only 17% ownership too, so feel free to get him in a lot more than that.
Yep.
To the Yankees we go. Yankees 4.1 run implied total. Twins 3.4. 59% chance to win for New York. James Paxton on the hill for the Yankees. Kyle Gibson going for the Twins. Paxton's the star here. He grades out as my second best pitching option across the board. He's the fourth most expensive guy on FanDuel. I got to 23% there, similar to the field. He is the most expensive guy on DraftKings, but only 10-3, which is a pretty pedestrian price tag as far as I'm concerned. He is still my second guy. I am roughly equal to the field on DraftKings as well. But the real piece for me is Kyle Gibson. Only 2% expected ownership on DraftKings, 6,700. I got 14%. I really like getting to Kyle Gibson as an SP2. Not that I don't like Paxton, obviously, but it's not like I'm worried about the Yankees. How do you feel about these guys?
The thing with Gibson for me is I just don't know that it's the slate for him. I mean, he's 6,700, which is a really nice price tag, but I'd still rather find $500 if I can and get to Musgrove, or find a little bit more and get to like Robbie Ray or Woodruff. Maybe not Ray, but
if Musgrove is 25% and Gibson is unowned, then I'm happy about it. I don't see them as very different.
Yeah, I mean, I do, but
okay.
I just think Musgrove has better strikeout stuff and is probably in a better strikeout spot. But I have no issue with Gibson. Like, I think he's a good point per dollar play. I think he's a good pitcher. I think that if he made like one slight change, he would be an absolutely fantastic fantasy pitcher. But he has refused to make that change so far. So it is what it is. I don't have a problem with him, but he's just kind of grading out as a guy for me on the slate. Like I have so many people ahead of him.
Okay. I feel like every Minnesota Twins pitcher is the same guy that isn't Francisco Liriano. Like Kyle Gibson is Brad Radke, is insert Twins righty here. Like I never picture these guys as anything other than essentially Brad Radke for 20 years.
Yeah, just like ground ball, no strikeouts.
Yeah,
But like the thing with Gibson, like his breaking balls are nasty. He just throws his sinker in 2 straight counts for God knows what reason.
Beat it into the ground, I guess. Talk to me about Paxton.
He's my second pitcher on the slate too. It's
Sale.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. It's not the best matchup, but I really don't care. Paxton's just that good. His price tag's appealing. What's the projected ownership on Paxton versus Sale right now?
26 to Paxton, 45 to Sale.
I think there's a good chance I would end up a little bit over on Paxton and under on Sale.
Mm-hmm.
If we are getting close to a 2-to-1 split, but I have Paxton projected like 4 points behind Sale right now.
I have him 2.4 behind. And Jake, I'm glad you liked the Brad Radke reference for the Minnesota Jakes. Yeah, I'm nervous about the the Sale ownership. I hope that calms down. Like he's very clearly my top play on the slate. I'm not trying to talk myself out of that, but man, 45% is a pretty healthy number on this slate. I don't know what I'm going to do. The problem here is that, and we're getting to it earlier than we need to, but the White Sox are just so strikeout heavy that it's really hard to pull him out of those lineups because the matchup is really hard to beat.
And you also take the best hitter, probably the best hitter, or the most dangerous hitter at least, on the White Sox and flip him around to a side of the plate that he can't hit from.
Yep. It's really tough. But back to Yankees Twins for now. I'm clearly happy to have as much James Paxton as I can get. It's terrifying because I think the Minnesota lineup is really good. And they strike out a little bit more than average. It really, really helps Paxton. Not just Paxton, but like anybody out to not have Astudillo in there. It really makes it a functional strikeout matchup instead of a really difficult one.
Can you quickly, I don't know if I'm pulling it up now, but I don't know if you'll get there faster. How's Eddie Rosario been against lefties? Like, is he competent?
He has a really negative red number in my splits column, -7%. So that's usually a sign that it's like pretty bad. But yeah. I can get to him right now. I had FanGraphs up, so.
Okay.
I'm just gonna look for last year, just in general. Versus lefties last year, 95 weighted runs created plus versus righties 121.
Did he hit for any power against? I'm just
131 ISO against lefties, 219 against righties.
Because you can get to Paxton with left-handed power.
Yeah.
And hitting in New York as a lefty obviously is appealing.
Yeah, he has not shown that. Let me see if I'll grab his career rates just to see if anything else changes.
I mean, it's not like he's super cheap anyway.
141 ISO against lefties in his career.
Yeah, that's not great.
No. Not at all.
Okay.
I didn't get to any Yankees or Twins.
Yeah, it seems right to me.
Straight zero across FanDuel. Only thing that I got was 2% Marwin Gonzalez on DraftKings.
Yeah, because he's $2,900.
Yeah. And dual eligibility.
Yep.
Bound to fit in there from time to time. Apparently, per Sean V, since we know we love these stats, Eddie Rosario is an 0 for 24 slump right now.
And before that, he hit like 12 home runs in 2 games. So, okay.
0 for 24 and the date with one of the better lefties on the planet does not make me excited for that number turning into a 1 at the beginning. But as soon as you say it, that's when it happens. All right, that is it for all of the 705 games. So I've got a plug for you guys. You know that we can bet on horse racing in the United States now?
I just found that out.
Yeah, well, there you go. A few states are a little restrictive, but most of them are allowing it now. And we've got the Kentucky Derby coming up this weekend. So if you're looking to bet on horse races, we have partnerships now with 2 different horse racing sports books, TVG and TwinSpires. So I'm going to drop both links into the chat right now. If you're looking to sign up at TVG, use the promo code WELCOME20, which I'm also pasting into the chat. And you can get a free $20 bet and a $100 bonus, which really sounds awesome. I'm certainly going to take advantage of that to degenerately bet on horse racing. Can't wait for that. If you want to sign up for TwinSpires, I'm dropping the link in the chat for TwinSpires right now. And if you join, you'll get a free $100 bonus. So can't beat that now, but if you're looking to get some stuff in for the Derby or moving forward, either use the links for TVG or use the links for TwinSpires. And Ben and Jordan will talk a little bit more about this on the Awesemo Odds betting show when they break down the Kentucky Derby coming up after this. Moving on. Indians and Mariners. 4.4 run implied total for the Indians. 3.6 for the Mariners. It's a 59% chance to win for Cleveland. Shane Bieber going for the Indians. Yusei Kikuchi going for the Mariners. I have zero interest whatsoever in Kikuchi. For Bieber, 16% ownership on Yahoo, 19 on DK, for just 4% on FanDuel. I'm pretty much matching the field here. He grades out as a completely functional option, just kind of in this same pack of guys that are fine at their price tags. Mariners strike out quite a bit. They project for a 23% strikeout rate. This is a spot, though, where the lineup will tell the story. Some of their subs just don't K all that much. How do you feel about Bieber here? Is he a guy? He's not really a guy you normally get to, right?
I do. I like
Okay.
Bieber a lot. And I think his price tag is really reasonable here. It's just another one where, like on a lot of slates, I would just be getting a ton of Bieber, but I'll still get a good amount of him. It's just going to be less than normal because there's only so many pitchers that I can roster. But if we do get a right-handed heavy Seattle lineup, I think that sets up well for Bieber. 13.4% swing strike percentage to righties so far this year, 13% to lefties. So, I mean, really getting swings and misses against everyone. Really good control, doesn't walk guys. And most of the power in the Seattle lineup comes from the right side, which is appealing. So it's a scary matchup in that Seattle does have, good hitters, but most of their power again from the right side. Since last year, Bieber's allowed a 148 expected ISO to righties compared to 209 to lefties. So that works in his favor, and he's got a bit of a decrease in price tag for the matchup. So I have Bieber right now as my fifth highest scoring pitcher in raw points. One of my top point per dollar plays.
Yep.
I think fifth point per dollar also.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'll be getting a pretty healthy amount of Bieber.
Yeah, I got to 17%. I assume that I end up in that range. The only thing that's really going to change it is if this lineup gets tweaked a little bit. But I'm going to have some exposure to Bieber. I don't really have like a hot take. He's at a price point where it works and things fit. No Kikuchi, right?
Right.
Okay. Indians bats, I barely got to. Most of it is just Lindor and Ramirez, as it should be. I did not get to any Mariners on any site. So do you have any interest in hitting here?
If you're playing on a site where Jay Bruce is favorably priced, I like him.
That would be FanDuel 2,700.
Yeah, all right. So I like Jay Bruce on FanDuel. He's a power lefty against Bieber, and that's an appealing spot, especially because Bieber doesn't walk guys. So you do have him throwing strikes to Bruce, and Bruce can do some damage. I don't want to pay more for Jay Bruce on DraftKings than Bryce Harper, for example, but where he's 2,700, that's a good play, I think. On the other side, Kikuchi's he's not good, he's not bad, he's just kind of there. Jose Ramirez's price tag is okay. I don't have a problem getting there, but overall, it's just not a game where I'm getting to a lot of bats, I don't think.
Same page. Wish I had something to add, but I really don't. Marlins and Braves. I'm decked out in Braves today. Shirt, hat. And that's it. Didn't try that, though. Once I saw the shirt, I had to grab the hat.
Yeah.
3.6 run implied total for the Marlins, 4.4 for the Braves. 59% chance to win for Atlanta. Jose Urena going for the Marlins. Kevin Gausman going for the Braves. I got to a little bit of Urena, 5% on DraftKings. It's just a pay down option, but it's not something I'm terribly fond of. These Braves do not strike out all that often. Gausman's the guy that we need to talk about. I think he grades out really well. 15% expected ownership on DraftKings. That's about where I'm at right now. I'm a little heavier on him on FanDuel, where he is only the 11th most expensive pitcher, 8,100. Talk to me about Gausman.
Yeah, obviously a nice matchup against a Miami team that doesn't have very good hitters in a great park for pitchers. The only thing that concerns me here, and it hasn't been an issue so far this season, which is really good, but going back to previous years, is that Gausman against righties has been more hesitant to throw his splitter, changeup, whatever you want to call that pitch. And it's the pitch that gets swings and misses. It's the pitch he needs if he's going to strike guys out. So far this year, he's thrown it 38% of the time to righties. So as long as he keeps that up, I'm not going to be concerned about it being a right-handed heavy lineup. But that's at least something that's like in the back of my mind. But he's been good this year against righties, a 13.5% swinging strike percentage. He's had some issues with power, which is something that has always been the case, but there's not really any right-handed power in this lineup outside of Alfaro and Brian Anderson, who are very flawed in their own ways. So I like Gausman a lot.
God, I just want him to be better.
You and me both.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
I think
you
he's
probably don't
getting
want him to be better any longer. You wanted him to be better 18 months ago.
I still really like him, though.
Yeah.
It'll just be really annoying if he's better because the Orioles got almost nothing for him.
I know. That was great. Made me
Except
happy.
for getting rid of O'Day's contract.
Any interest in bats in this game? I've got straight zeros across the board.
Not a ton. I mean, Freddie Freeman's expensive. It's not a good park for hitters. Ronald Acuna is another one. Like Bryce Harper's spot obviously is better because he's not facing Jose Urena in Miami. But Ronald Acuna is better than $4,600. I don't care who he's facing or where.
It projected for 10% ownership on DK right now. Josh Donaldson for $3,800 on FanDuel is the price tag for someone in this game that stands out most, ignoring the cheapo Curtis Granderson leadoff spot.
Yeah.
I wish I had more. Go Braves. Go Gausman. At least I could cheer for that piece. Well, this one should be fun. Okay. Reds.
My boy.
Reds 4.7 run implied total. Giants 3.9. The 59% chance to win for Cincinnati. Sonny Gray on the hill for the Reds. It's BD, right?
BD, yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Beede going for the Giants. I have no ownership going to Sonny Gray. He's projected for 8% on DraftKings. No ownership going to Tyler Beede as well. The Giants are my third most exposed stack on DK. They are fifth on FanDuel, a couple multiples above the field. So the floor is yours. Sonny Gray. Why do you like him? And give me the reasons.
So my coming into this season, hypothesis on Sonny Gray was that he was going to be an ace level pitcher because I firmly believe that he just had a mental issue pitching in New York. His numbers outside of Yankee Stadium, even last year, he sucked last year overall. Everyone knows that. His numbers outside of New York last year were very, very, very good. His walk rate was down, his strikeouts were up, everything was just so much better. And then so far this season, through his first six starts, we have a 30.3% strikeout percentage, which is 9 percentage points higher than overall last season. A 6.7% walk percentage, which is a little over 3 percentage points lower than last season. 2.85 xFIP through his first 6 starts. I mean, he's always had really good stuff. He spent the offseason kind of Trevor Bauer-like learning how to improve how to use the stuff that he had. And he's come out and been really, really good. And now he's facing the Giants. So I still think that, I have a bet with a friend that Sonny Gray ends up being a $10,000 pitcher on DraftKings before this year is over. And that's how I view him. So the fact that he's 8,200 facing the Giants at low ownership, I'm going to have a lot of interest.
That all makes sense. He's been fantastic this season. 3 games of 6 Ks, no walks, 7 Ks, no walks, 9 Ks, no walks. That is all very interesting to me. My only concern is that he doesn't go deep enough into the game. That's mitigated a little bit just based on this matchup. I did give him a little bit of a boost to what I would normally expect for his innings. This is just a really not great strikeout matchup, and that's part of the reason that I'm having a lot of trouble getting to Sonny Gray.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. That's my one concern. I think he's going to, but it's still, I just think his stuff is so good that I'm willing to give him the edge. But I do agree on a slate where there are so many options that San Francisco not having a lot of strikeouts in their lineup is a bit of a concern.
Yeah. Top 3 guys in this Giants projected lineup right now and their strikeout rates: Joe Panik 10%. Solarte 15, Buster Posey 13. That's a really tough way to go 1, 2, 3 for the guys that are going to get the most plate appearances.
Yeah, and then you get Brandon Belt right after that.
Yeah, who's, strikes out, but he's also the best hitter on the team.
Right, exactly. And so I just pulled up his road numbers last year, just for comparison. So, I mentioned what his numbers were this year overall, but last year outside of Yankee Stadium, 26.4% strikeout percentage, 7.4% walk percentage, 3.27 xFIP. So if you are willing to just chalk up not mentally being able to pitch in New York, which I am, because normally I don't buy into stuff like that. But when you just look at the numbers overall, he just did not throw strikes, was always behind in counts. His walk percentage was, I think his K minus BB was close to negative.
I've got it here. He was 19% on the road and 3.5% at home. K minus BP.
Yeah.
So almost negative. Yeah.
Right. It was just ridiculous, and the stuff was always there. It was just it was really weird, but I'm willing to buy into it for that reason. And so if you toss out those home starts and you go back to last year, like you're looking at a you know a long string of starts of him being really, really good.
Yeah, the starts this year are certainly something that I want to keep an eye on. I'm less likely to just assume that, like, I'm more likely to think that the aggregate of last year is the correct answer, which sure doesn't shock you at all.
No.
But he is someone that I've got a close eye on. Like, he projects really well, 9 Ks per 9, a 387 FIP via Steamer, but it's possible that he really is that next step already. Like the away starts are way more informative. Yeah, so 8%, I assume you're going to be quite happy about that.
Yeah, and again, it's not like on this slate, it's not one where I expect to just be jamming in like 75% Sonny Gray or something like that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't set up that way, but I do expect that I'll be over 8% on him.
Makes sense to me. I do have quite a bit of Reds. They are one of the chalkier stacks on both sites. I'm under the field, but I do have exposure mostly to these first 4 or 4 out of the first 5, at least depending on the site. Votto, Suarez, Winker, and Puig. Barnhart on DraftKings. Any interest in the Reds bats?
Yeah. Obviously a good spot. Good hitter spark. Lots of guys that put the ball in play and have some speed. BD's numbers from last year just loaded for me. So not a lot of time in the majors. He at one point was a top pitching prospect. He's been fine in his limited time, in the majors, which is very limited. So it's a spot where I'm not like super confident in them, but with this game being in Cincinnati and with the amount of respect that I have for guys like Suarez and Votto and Puig, I think that it's a spot that I can get to, especially because they're not expensive.
No, the price tags here are fantastic. All sites, Reds look good. Yeah, I've got the Giants are so cheap on basically every site, FanDuel in particular. They are not getting a lot of love on FanDuel. 3% aggregate ownership. I have 7% right now. They have 6%.
The Giants?
Yeah, for the Giants. 6% on DraftKings. I have 9. This looks like one of the spots that I'm going to go. I'll probably end up with even more Giants if Sonny Gray's ownership climbs. But right now, they look to be one of my primary filler stacks for salary reasons. I guess I'll take that shot. I'm not terribly comfortable with it.
Brandon Belt, 4,100 on DraftKings in Cincinnati is another one where he should just really never be that cheap in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But I would expect that you have more Giants than I do.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me. They're not. It is mostly just a hedge. 148 projected ISO for the game. Average lineup. We get the benefit of playing in Cincinnati, but other than that, I just really like the price tags. I think they're just $100 or $200 cheap across the board, and that ends up getting them into my lineups a bit more than I would have expected.
Yeah, and they also fill some weak positions with, Posey at catcher, with Brandon Crawford being free at shortstop, even though he's not very good. Still very, very cheap.
Yep. Yeah, they're not difficult to get. 3 out of their first 4 hitters having dual eligibility is also really, really helpful in terms of lineup construction.
Yep.
It just dramatically increases the permutations you can get. Tigers and Royals, 4.4 run implied total for the Tigers, 3.7 for the Royals. It's a 58% chance to win for Detroit. Matt Boyd going for the Tigers. Jorge Lopez going for the Royals. Boyd is in that group of guys today that I really can't hash out. Kershaw, Glasnow, Boyd, Bieber, Gaussman, Robbie Ray, depending on the site. All these guys on a dollar-for-dollar basis are coming out very similar for me. So this ends up being my biggest fade, and I'm very surprised by it and super nervous about it. We have Boyd at 17% ownership on Yahoo, 19% on DraftKings. I only got 2. Obviously a fantastic strikeout matchup. So talk to me about Matt Boyd.
Yeah, I think I'll end up higher than that. Right now I have him as my 3rd highest projected pitcher. Pretty far behind Paxton and Sale. But third overall and as a pretty decent, point per dollar option. So I believe in his stuff. I think that he's a good pitcher. I really like the matchup against Kansas City, but I also agree with you that I probably won't get tons of him just because of how I know roster construction goes. Like when I pay up at pitcher, the priority is going to be Sale and Paxton, and there's not going to be a lot of lineups that I have most likely that have two guys above 9K at pitcher, especially because you have so many, 7 to 8,500 guys. So I think that Boyd probably is going to get squeezed out. Like I would assume Kershaw gets squeezed out first, and then Boyd starts to get squeezed. So that's where like I don't think I'll get a ton of him. I think I probably end up below 19%. I'd be surprised if I ended up higher than that.
Okay.
But it's not because of anything about Boyd. It's just because of how I expect roster construction to go.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that I got so little, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to normally you can add one or two bats if you go from Matt Boyd to Sonny Gray or Joe Musgrove or whatever. And while Boyd does project higher, they both have high ceilings or they all have high ceilings, and point per dollar wise, there's not a huge difference.
Yep, I'm with you there. Any Jorge Lopez?
Probably
normally
not.
that's not a question I would think there's an answer coming to, but the Tigers strike out a ton and he's cheap, and it's
Yeah, no, I mean that's why I hesitated. Is I think he's like decent. I don't think he's anything special, but I don't think I'm going to get there a lot. I just don't see this as a slate where I'm going to be dumpster diving at SP2 because I have so many options. Like in a lot of lineups, I'm going to be able to get one of the aces and a mid-range pitcher and do whatever I want with bats.
Yep.
In lineups where I'm really just jamming in bats, I can still get two pitchers, between 7K and 8,500 and get anything I want at hitter. I just don't see myself going to guys where it's like, they're okay. If everything breaks right, they can get me like 22 points. Like that's just not the way I see this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got 3% of Lopez. That's just the what happens when you crunch out a ton of stuff and sort. Like it could easily be 0 the next time, and it wouldn't shock me at all. He's not a guy I'm prioritizing. He's just filler.
Yep.
I got to a little bit of bats in this game, roughly neutral to the field on the Tigers, both sites. Royals going essentially unowned. I have quite a bit. I mean, in relative to the field, 4% aggregate on FanDuel compared to 1, 7% aggregate on DraftKings compared to 2. And that's mostly just a function of hedging against the ownership. I don't like it. I don't like rostering the Royals, but this is going to be a spot where I think that I can be a little different.
Yeah, I think it'll matter the site for me. Like, I love that idea because, like, I do think Boyd's good, but the bullpen behind them isn't, and you do at least have some right-handed power and speed on Kansas City. But like on DraftKings, Merrifield, Mondesi are 5K, Dozier's 4,600. Soler at 3,900 is okay. But that's just not really where I want to be getting to with a whole lot of frequency when you consider how good I think Boyd is on Yahoo. You have 19, 20, 24. I mean, they're expensive there too.
Yeah, they're very expensive on Yahoo.
Yeah, so it's not only is it a bad matchup, but it's tough to get there price wise.
Yeah, Merrifield, Mondesi, Soler getting a little bit of love for me. I don't mind paying up and being different for those kind of guys. The most ownership that I got out of the Royals actually goes to Chris Owings and Martin Maldonado, 13 and 14% respectively. That is a very different stack that no one's going to have. I'm confident of that.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun time.
So we'll see how it goes. But those are not the two guys that I would have expected were the main. I mean, Maldonado is a $2,500 catcher on DraftKings. Sometimes, that's really just all that it is. It makes getting a 5-man Royals stack a little bit better. And if Matt Boyd is 19% owned, naturally the Royals get pulled up for me. I would not expect that one to be at the top, but that's the type of thing that you see at you see at the top of a GPP, and you're like, who the hell would roster these guys on purpose? Know that it's generally not on purpose.
Yeah.
Like you would never hand build into that. Ever.
No. I was going to ask who your favorite hitter in this game was.
Ooh, okay. I'm flipping the script on me here. In this game, Mondesi.
Castellanos.
Okay. He would be 4th. Merrifield, some combination of Mondesi, Merrifield, Candelario, Castellanos. And on Yahoo, it's Candelario.
Yeah, I really like Castellanos here.
Yeah, it looks good. Rangers and Blue Jays. I believe this one is the game that has like the most sort of weather up in the air right now, but I want to double check it. Now Oakland, Pittsburgh. As always, we don't really touch too much on it in the morning. We just need to give all the information first. We'll have the deeper dive at 4:40 for an hour, and then live before lock to really hash out legitimate weather concerns. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not calling this stuff in the morning. Rangers,
they can't do it, so why would we try?
Yeah, exactly. Rangers and Blue Jays, 5.1 run implied total for the Rangers, 4.4 for the Jays. EMAC, don't encourage Sean V. It's a 57% chance to win for Texas. Mike Minor going for the Rangers. Trent Thornton going for the Jays. I didn't get any exposure really to any of these guys. 1% to Thornton just because of his price. This is not a spot where I'm looking to get any pitching. They're fine. Thornton just never goes deep enough into the game, but the strikeout stuff is there. I would just rather be somewhere else than pitching here.
Yeah, I mean, Thornton, I think his stuff's decent. I think he's got a ways to go to be consistent, and facing a ton of left-handed power in Texas is not my idea of where I look to roster him. And then Mike Minor, I think, is good, but he's not he has no place on the slate for me.
Yep.
At $9,000.
I completely agree. He's like where do I have him on? He is my 10th ranked pitcher on DK. I have none of him, but the way that he grades out, like he could have on a 5-game slate, he could be like 40% owned.
Right, exactly. There's nothing wrong with him or even his price tag, really.
No,
it's just that there's a ton of pitchers where I would rather roster them.
I said I think today is the deepest slate of pitching since like the opening day slate where you get every team's ace.
Yeah, especially across price tiers. Like the other day, we had that slate with like 8 aces.
Right.
But the mid tier was just dead.
Yeah.
But here it's like, outside of there's no, $6,000 guy that is great. But, outside of that, you can do whatever you want in like any tier at pitcher.
Yeah, it'll be the key piece of all of it. Any Thornton for you?
No.
Okay.
Much rather get the Texas bats.
Rangers bats. Let's make sure I get the right aggregate numbers here, at least from a rank perspective. Rangers are the third most owned stack on FanDuel. They are 6th on DraftKings. I basically don't have them on DK. I have a little bit more on FanDuel, but this appears to be one of the spots that I'm getting different. To be fair, most of the ownership for the Rangers is simply going to Rougned Odor. It's not as if it's going to like the entire team. So a little bit of a quirk to this, but I'm not going to chalky Odor. I just need to pray that he doesn't think today is the day to hit a home run. Talk to me about the Rangers, though.
Odor is too cheap.
Yeah.
He's my top point per dollar play.
Yeah.
But
I don't disagree with anything that you just said.
No,
obviously.
I agree with you too. It's baseball. You can, if any hitter in any matchup is like 30+% owned, you don't have to roster him in tournaments.
Especially when they're not good hitters.
Yeah, especially
he's
when
just
they're
a power hitting second baseman. If you're Mike Trout and you're 30% owned, that's a very different thing than 30% owned Odor.
Right. Yeah, he's a below average hitter who hits the ball far and steals bases sometimes.
Yeah.
So he's a high upside. He's Mike Zunino of second base.
Yep, that's a really good comp.
So in how he plays for DFS, not even in terms of his anything baseball related, but yeah. So I think he's too cheap, but I really like getting to guys. I like that the Texas stack overall is expensive because I do think it'll keep their ownership as a full stack down a bit. 5,500 for Joey Gallo, who there was either a Fangraphs or an Athletic article on him within the last couple of days that I would recommend reading, just because it was talking about a change in approach for Gallo and how he's being encouraged to focus like one spot in the strike zone instead of just hitting strikes. And it's led to his strikeouts coming down a bit and him just being a even better hitter than he already was. So I really, really like Gallo. Thornton so far this season, a 255 expected ISO allowed the lefties. So yeah, love Gallo. I really like Shin-Soo Choo. And then, getting guys like Mazzara and Cabrera is pretty appealing as well.
Yeah, so when I ran my crunches this morning, I did 300 lines of just 4 3s on FanDuel and 5 2s on DraftKings. That'll be a little bit more mixed up as I get towards lock and I do more, one big stack with a lot of one-offs. So I didn't really get to any Joey Gallo, but he grades out really well for me, even with the price tag. So I would expect to get Gallo as a one-off a little bit more frequently as I get closer to lock, but nothing too crazy. The $5,500 price tag is insane on DK, but I think he's also worth it and unowned.
Right. Right. It's a weird spot because it's like the price tag is perfectly fair. When you compare it to someone like Bryce Harper at 4,600, it's not great. Yeah. But there's no like, oh, Joey Gallo's too expensive. He's not.
The things he does are the things that you're looking for.
Right. Exactly. Like I have him as the highest scoring non-Coors Field hitter on the slate.
See where I've got him.
But yeah, behind Arenado and Story. So I think, but the price tag being where it is, it should keep his ownership lower than it would be otherwise.
I have him with the 18th highest likelihood of reaching his ceiling. But even still, like he's 24th of all hitters, even like ceiling per dollar. So like you don't normally see that at 5,500, but
right.
That'll get you into some lineups. Blue Jays, I'm slightly over the field on. They're like average in terms of ownership. I'm just like a tick above that. Most of it going to like Galvis, Grichuk, Vlad Guerrero. Vlad Guerrero Jr. down to 2,900 on FanDuel. I'll be.
Is there anyone above 3,000 on FanDuel?
Above 3,000?
Yeah, I mean, I was.
Sogart's 3,800. Can leave that one alone. Grichuk is 3K. Smoke is 3,500.
Yeah, no, I meant like in general on the slate, like the entire site is just like $2,800.
Oh yeah, I mean it's pricing is stupid. Yeah, $2,600 Odor. That tickle your fancy? $8 Odor on Yahoo.
Yeah, I mean Odor across all sites today is
right
a top play. Yeah, so I mean, getting to it's a power upgrade for Toronto. Minor is good, but he does give up fly balls. Getting to guys like Grichuk and Guerrero, I think, gives you upside, but it's not a spot that I'm looking to get to too much. And I know it's only been 5 games, but man, Vlad's got a long way to go if he's gonna be Mike Trout second coming.
$10 on Yahoo for him, 2,900 on FanDuel, 4,200 on DK. I'll have quite a bit. As much as the field, depending on the site. I like this game for hitting. I'm surprised I'm not getting to more Rangers, but I can tolerate it. They're expensive. I'd rather have pitching. Brewers and Mets. Brewers 4.4 run implied total. Mets 4.1. 53% chance to win for Milwaukee. Brandon Woodruff going for the Brewers. Steven Matz going for the Mets. I got to a little bit of Woodruff. He's actually at 14% expected ownership on Yahoo, where he's only $26. That is way too cheap. Steven Matz, not at all on my radar. How do you feel about Woodruff and or Matz?
The Yahoo price tag is obviously too cheap and makes him a really good play. He's perfectly fine as a pitcher. I just have trouble getting to him, over Musgrove. Like if rain impacts that game, I'll get more Woodruff. But I have him behind Musgrove. I have him behind a lot of guys to where he's another one on a lot of slates. He'd be like the top mid-range play, but on this one, he's just not for me. I like him more than Matz. The spot really scares me for Matz. I'm actually interested in Milwaukee bats because while Steven Matz does have good stuff and he's capable of really shutting down offenses, he struggles to hold runners and he will give up power to righties. And you have speed and right-handed power in this lineup. I think Lorenzo Cain's a phenomenal play. Has enough power to do damage and should run if he gets on against Matz. Same goes for Ryan Braun. You have, Aguilar still as a cheap first base option. So more interested in the Milwaukee offense than getting to Matz just because of how much pitching talent there is on the slate. I don't really feel the need. Like I need to risk Steven Matz here.
Okay. I barely got to the Brewers on DK. They're a really difficult team to stack because their first 3 hitters are projected to be outfielders. It makes it tough. So I have very little of Milwaukee. I have a little bit more on FanDuel, but still massively under the field. Ryan Braun is being juiced up quite a bit for that righty-lefty matchup, so feel free to play Ryan Braun in cash. I'd be a little bit less interested in the aggregate. I have a little bit of Mets on FanDuel, a little bit more than the field that is. I don't have any on DK. I'm just sort of not on this game. The most I have of anybody is 8% of Cano or Ryan Braun. So it's not the game for me.
Yeah, I'm not in love with the game in general. I just think that Milwaukee does give you a lot of upside, but individually, like Kane, Braun, and Aguilar are really cheap.
Yeah, I'm much more likely to get these guys as one-offs or two-man pairings. Kane, Yelich, Braun, Grandal, Aguilar. Even on the Mets side, McNeil, Alonso, Cano, Conforto. These guys grade out as perfectly acceptable plays, and I expect to get a little bit more volume as I vary up my crunches, but I won't be on anything with any sort of bulk here. Anything else in this game? Favorite hitter in this game? Kane?
Kane.
Okay.
Either Kane or Braun.
Okay. Here it comes. We're going to have a lot here. White Sox and Red Sox. White Sox 3.4 run implied total. Red Sox 4.6. 64% chance to win for Boston. Ronaldo Lopez going for the White Sox. Chris Sale going for Boston. Chris Sale is my most exposed pitcher on FanDuel. He's my most exposed pitcher on DraftKings. And the Red Sox stack is number 2 for me on both FanDuel and DK. On FanDuel in particular, they are going essentially unowned, so that's fun. DK, they're at 8% aggregate. I have double that. Everything's coming up Red Sox for me today, but let's start with Sale.
He's just too cheap across the board. 9,900 on FanDuel and DraftKings, 51 on Yahoo. For comparison on Yahoo, Sonny Gray is 45, Paxton's 50, Glasnow. So he's the same price as Tyler Glasnow. It's just too cheap of a price tag, assuming that he is fine, which obviously is still kind of a tough assumption, but he's been looking better. The velocity's been there. It's a high strikeout matchup. I still think that, like, if Chris Sale were pitching through his first 6 starts or whatever, the way that he probably will pitch the rest of the season, he would be like $11,000 here.
Yeah.
If not more.
Any nerves of his fastball velocity dropping back down to 91 in the last start? I mean, yes, I guess is the answer, but
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Still, 8 Ks, 3 walks. I watched that start against Tampa on the 28th. It was like a little BABIP-y. He was getting ahead of guys. He gave up one bad pitch to Merrifield or Mondesi. One of the two took him deep. Now, that was not that game. Who took him deep?
Oh, it's like when he was playing Tampa?
No. Who took him deep? You can picture it. He waved at it. He was so pissed. I don't know. I've already forgot. Not important. I don't know what else to do with him. He just shouldn't be priced where he is if he's pitching like he should. And through all of like the strife and everything, he's still at 24.1% K rate. He had one really bad start. And the rest of it is just like, okay, it's getting there. He's been better than average in his last 4. I can't see a reason not to be there, even with all this pitching talent on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. And also, for as much as he struggled this year, so against right-handed hitters, still a 290 expected WOBA, a 268 expected WOBA, 157 expected ISO, 16% swinging strike percentage. I think hang on, my numbers are messed up. Okay. What the hell? Okay, I take that back. He's not there. So ignore that thought. Like, yeah, my numbers got flipped. But he still, like, over his last few starts has been getting swinging strikes. The velocity is certainly concerning, but the price tag takes that into account.
Yeah, last 4 starts have all been 11.8% or higher swinging strike rate. He's at 12% for the season. I don't know what else to do. The White Sox are not a good hitting team. They project with a 93 weighted runs created plus. They are a little heavy to the right-hand side, but they're two of their three best hitters are going to be on their negative side. Like Alonso is obviously really bad against lefties. Yoan Moncada is a completely different person hitting from the right side. I mean, if Lurie Garcia is leading off with his projected 82 weighted runs created plus, they have a 25% aggregate strikeout rate. I can't get away from this. This is the dream matchup. This is the matchup that makes him either look great and get back to normal, or he gets bombed here and we're just like, okay, we probably reevaluate Sale.
Right.
I just can't do it. He's too damn good when it's right. And I'm not in any position to like make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, if he's at 630, if he's still projected for almost 50% ownership, and you don't want to go over that, then fine. Like there's a million other options to go to, but I think he's the number one pitcher.
You and me both. Any Lopez for you? He was solid in his last start.
Not on this slate against the Red Sox. Like, I'm good.
Okay. Talk to me about Red Sox bats. As I mentioned, I am either double the field or more on both sites. They have 4% aggregate ownership on FanDuel, 15% going to JD, no one else above 6. I don't understand it. Benintendi is 3,700, Betts 4,700, JD is 3,900 for reasons I'll never understand. 3,800 for Bogarts, 3,400 for Devers. I'm going to have basically like infinite Red Sox today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the spot. Like Lopez, especially against righties, can be pretty decent. He has good stuff when he's throwing strikes, but the price tags just make up for that. JD, you mentioned JD's prices. Bogarts is 43 on DraftKings, Benintendi's 43, and getting him out of Fenway actually can be beneficial because it does downplay lefty power. Mookie's 51, but it's not like that's overpriced. It's just a lot more expensive than everyone else on the team. So, and Lopez does struggle with lefty power more than righty. So guys like Benintendi and Devers become a little bit more appealing. Anytime that you get a stack this talented, like Mitch Moreland probably is batting 7th. Anytime you get a stack this talented at low ownership and low price tags, I get there a lot.
Yeah, I want everything in this game outside of basically Christian Vasquez.
Yeah.
Do I have JD as my number one hitter on the entire slate?
You mean point per dollar was?
Overall and point per dollar, JD Martinez, number one.
I have him like 10th or 11th overall, and I think 2nd point per dollar.
God, it's just insane. I love these Red Sox. This is the team to have tonight, people. I promise you that. I don't promise you that. They just look really good. It's baseball. There's no promises in baseball, just like there's no crying.
7th point per dollar, but out of guys that don't suck, he's like 3rd or 4th.
Okay. Yeah, I cannot get enough here. Keep that ownership low, though, so I can keep going high. We're going to play a quick game called Is This Trash or Not? You ready?
Yeah.
Lurie Garcia hit like 433 against lefties at home last year.
Trash.
And that concludes our game of Trash or Not. Moving on, 2 games to go. Rockies and Diamondbacks. 5.4 run implied total for the Rockies. 5.6 for the D-backs. Is that right? I guess it is. 51% chance to win for the D-backs. Tyler Anderson on the hill for Colorado. Robbie Ray going for Arizona. So I think Tyler Anderson grades out as like a guy I wouldn't mind if he showed up as a low salary guy. He didn't show up for me, but he has that sort of grade. It's a scary, scary game. Robbie Ray grades out really well. in particular on FanDuel, Robbie Ray is the 18th most expensive pitcher. Now, obviously pitching in Colorado, not great. Games with 11-run implied totals, generally not pitchers' duels. But I'm going to have a couple shares of Robbie Ray on probably all of the sites. How do you feel about Robbie Ray here?
Different slates, I'd have a lot and just take my chances.
Yep.
This one, I'm less inclined to do that, but I do, for example, have him projected slightly higher than Brandon Woodruff. I have him, I have him behind Musgrove. I have him behind Gray, Gossman, Bieber. So, I mean, that's what's going to keep me from getting more. Just from a raw upside standpoint, he's got a ton of upside. It's just I don't feel the need to. I think I can get that upside elsewhere without taking a guy in Coors Field against Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado. Not that anyone else in this lineup's all that concerning for Ray, but just a scarier spot than I think I need to get to all that often on the slate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got to 3% on FanDuel, 3% on DK. What's keeping that down, oddly enough, is the fact that the Rockies aren't getting that much ownership. FanDuel actually has them priced up. Similarly, DK clearly does. 4% aggregate ownership to the Rockies on FanDuel and DraftKings. Most of it on FanDuel is just going to Trevor Story. So let's start there. Where do you land on a Rockies stack today?
If they're not going to be popular, then I like it. If they are, then I'll go elsewhere because, I think they are priced pretty appropriately for a difficult matchup. It's a high upside matchup, obviously, against Ray, but he's more than capable of going out and just mowing down a lineup. I do have, as I mentioned earlier, Arenado and Story as my top two raw points hitters on the slate. Blackman, Murphy, Dahl, McMahon, all left-handed, not particularly appealing for them against Ray. Cheap price tag for Ian Desmond, but he is absolutely terrible. So it's not the most appealing spot. It's just if they're really, really low owned in Coors, then I'll take some chances.
Yeah, I'm over the field. That not terribly surprising. They were lucrative yesterday, that's for sure. I'm shocked that they're so low owned. I mean, I guess that's a testament to the expensive pitching. That's the choice that's being made to start. We'll see where that ends up as we get closer to lock. Then for the Diamondbacks, 5% aggregate on FanDuel. Most of that is going to Wilmer Flores at 20%. DK, they're basically unowned. Do you have interest in the Diamondbacks as a stack?
It's so hard to get there. For one, I respect Tyler Anderson. Not that I think he's a guy that can't get blown up, but I don't think he's a gas can either. I would love to get to Ketel Marte and Escobar and Christian Walker and Flores, but they're expensive. I mean, Escobar and Christian Walker are the same price on DraftKings as Joey Gallo. That's when you kind of step back and you think about, and Gallo's in Texas. It's not like he's hitting in the Grand Canyon or something.
Yeah.
And then you're getting an entire lineup full of those price tags. It's really going to limit what you can do. So on the one hand, I assume Arizona is low owned because they're going to be really difficult to stack with anything good around them. But on the other hand, on a 13-game slate, there's 26 teams going, and even if you're in the best spot, which Arizona, they're in a top 5 spot, but I wouldn't say it's clearly the best or anything, you're still not going to be the top scoring stack all that often. And then you factor in that you're paying for it. I don't know. It's just tough to get there.
I got the 5% Adam Jones and Wilmer Flores, and that's the most I got on DK. It just, yeah. I only got 2% of my boy Ketel Marte too. I
was about to say, so what happened? You don't like him anymore?
I guess not. I mean, at some point in time, I can't roster him for my entire salary cap like they're trying to make me do today. Yeah, I got 2%. Maybe those are the 2% that'll win it all.
So, I just from an overall standpoint, and it's where, thinking about pricing comes in. Arizona's in a high upside spot, sure, but you're paying $1,000 more for basically every hitter in your Arizona stack than in your Boston stack.
Yeah. Nuts. I don't. Oh God, the pricing's crazy. I feel like if I were in charge of the pricing at these sites, I would take pride in making it really hard.
I think DraftKings is doing a good job.
I don't know about this Arizona price here. Did Kettle Marte really need to get to 5,400 for this one?
I like it.
But I mean, like, is 4,900 going to be? It's not like he's going to get jammed in.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically prices the like. I would want to price every team so that people could talk themselves into it, and the pricing on the Diamondbacks is just like, I mean, I can do this, but
yeah.
Where do we have Arizona right now in ownership on DK? Arizona is 17th in ownership. So you don't expect that in Coors games. Arizona 17, Colorado 13. 2 years ago, that would be very different.
And it's also two not terrible pitchers.
That's very true. It's also two not good offenses.
That too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I love Arenado. I love Story, and then I'm gonna pay to stack the rest of that trash.
Favorite bat in this game?
Arenado and then Story.
I would go Story than Arenado, but I'm fine there. Actually, if I want to be really technical, it's Story and Arenado is third. Adam Jones second relative to salary.
Think we can just discount that statement?
Yeah, last time you discounted a Diamondback statement, it went very well for this guy. And I don't know. I'm willing to take that chance in Colorado. Josh, does it bother you from years past? I can pretty much say no immediately to this question, but I'll keep reading. That Ray and Anderson have both performed fine in this exact spot, and they weren't the nuts games to target. Seems so obvious, but might be the fade today. Yeah, I'm pretty much fading like everything that exists in this game.
Yeah.
But it's not because of years past. I mean, it's because of years past, but not because of this combination in years past.
Yeah, it's because we know what Robbie Ray does and we know what Tyler Anderson can do.
Yeah.
And we know how these guys are priced.
I don't care what anyone in this game has ever done in this matchup. Ever.
I will make a little bit of an exception there because I do, to some extent, care how pitchers have done in Coors if they pitch there a decent amount of time. And Ray is someone that I would expect to be okay there. He's basically a fastball slider guy. So, like, if Robbie Ray, yeah, I mean, I expect him to be fine. It's not something I weigh in heavily, but more so than anywhere else. I'm like, okay, like, how's he done here?
Yeah, that I agree with. You always want to, like, that's a real concern. We have, look, I care about the things that have borne out over many years and many people. And the way that pitches move in Colorado is that type of thing. You ready to close this out?
Yep.
Dude, 1 hour and 17 minutes and we're through 12 games. It's a pretty good show. Hit that like button, or the efficiency should be rewarded here. And then subscribe to the channel. Padres, 3.2 run implied total. Dodgers, 3.9. 59% chance to win for LA. Eric Lauer going for San Diego. Clayton Kershaw going for the Dodgers. Did not really get to much Lauer. 3% actually on FanDuel, where he's only 6,700. I think that's kind of appealing. 4% on DraftKings, where he's essentially unowned. Kershaw, 13% expected ownership on Yahoo, 10% on DraftKings, 4% on FanDuel. On FanDuel, Clayton Kershaw is the most expensive pitcher on the slate, 11-3, $800 more expensive than Tyler Glasnow. Kershaw is the second most expensive pitcher on DK, $200 behind Paxton. How are you managing Clayton Kershaw today?
I don't think I'll get to much.
Yeah.
I still think he's really good. I don't think he's, what he was a couple of years ago. It's not the worst matchup in the world, but there is some right-handed power in this lineup. And more importantly, he's priced, he's expensive, like you said. I don't want to pay more for Clayton Kershaw than for Chris Sale. I don't want to pay basically the same price for Kershaw as James Paxton. So that kind of just squeezes him out.
Yeah, I got to 5% on DraftKings, only 1 on FanDuel. He's just too expensive for how many other guys on the slate aren't. Is really as easy as it gets. It's clearly a good spot. Padres strike out a little bit more than average. They're not particularly scary at the plate. They're solid. It is pretty righty heavy, which is, a little scary, but I don't care too much when it's Clayton Kershaw, even if he is the lesser version of himself. It's too much to spend, or at least too much to justify spending with all of these other guys on the slate.
And also, so like you had mentioned, the Giants as a team that, you didn't really like their spot, but they were cheap.
Yeah.
You get a lot of power for cheap from San Diego here. I'm not advocating stacking them, but Manny Machado on DraftKings with third base and shortstop eligibility is $3,600. This is a guy with a 133 WRC plus and a 246 ISO against left-handed pitching since 2017. Hunter Renfroe is 4K with a 385 WOBA, a 306 ISO. Franmil Reyes is 3,700. We know what kind of power he has. Will Myers is 3,700. It's just guys that you can one-off to help fill out your lineup, and they're not guys where you're just like, oh, I hope they get a couple of doubles. I'll be really happy. Like, they're guys that legitimately can just, hit one or two home runs.
Yeah, they project for a 190 ISO here. I'd be happy to have some Padres stacks. I got to 11% Machado. I didn't really get to much else. It's hard for me to want to stack against Kershaw if Kershaw doesn't get any love from an ownership perspective.
Yeah, I don't think I'm getting the stacks because of the way pitching lays out on the slate. It's not like the slate the other day where there are like I want two really expensive pitchers. Yeah. I'm fine taking an ace and a mid-range guy. But just as far as mixing guys in, I can stack, I don't know, the Red Sox or whatever, or the Rangers. The Rangers are probably a better example because they're expensive, and I can replace Elvis Andrus with Manny Machado and save $1,500.
Yeah,
and I'm not losing upside.
No, 100%. I completely agree there. I didn't get to any Padres on FanDuel, again, mostly because Kershaw's not getting any love. I've been getting so much Padres lately, which was obviously beneficial yesterday. They've been grading out really efficiently as of late, but today's not going to be that day. I'm hopping off the bandwagon. I
cut them back yesterday. It hurt a little bit.
Yeah. Number 2 exposed stack behind the Rockies for me. I couldn't get one loose yesterday in the Minimax. Jake almost took it down. I had like 90 lineups cash. All of my exposure was to the Rockies and Padres, but I had a pretty excessive amount of exposure to whoever the hell caught for the Rockies yesterday, and that was basically like the piece that I needed to flip to have it break free.
Yeah.
So
you needed some basic Astro in there.
Yeah. Didn't have it. So ultimately it all went well, but I just couldn't get that one lineup to break off and climb to the top. Dodgers bats. I have a small amount. I think Eric Lauer is solid. It's not a spot that I'm really looking to tackle, especially in San Diego. So little bits of them are fine to me. I just can't really get too excited about a game with this kind of total. Yeah,
the Dodgers. It's another spot though where I think there's some just value, upside value from the Dodgers, like Turner at 4K and Kike at 4,300. But I agree with you. I think Lauer's fine. Bellinger is still super, super, super expensive and basically impossible for me to get to on this slate. If he hits 3 home runs and wins it, then so be it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. 13 up, 13 down. It's a good slate. Take a look at a couple crunches. I think I still have them open. I hope I still have them open. I do. 300 lineups here. Give me 2 pitchers and we'll take a look at some of the stacks that come along with them.
What site?
DraftKings.
Clearly not FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, it's generally going to be DraftKings in these scenarios, and I'm speaking this out to the public. Because on FanDuel, you're going to get very similar roster construction based on the guys you need to take. There's just not a lot of value of taking cheaper salaried FanDuel pitchers and getting a lot out of it when you look at it. But being able to mix and match 2 separate pitchers kind of changes the way that this builds out. So it looks a little bit better.
All right, so Sale Musgrove.
Sale Musgrove. That shouldn't be difficult. I got 23 lineups of Sale Musgrove. If I sort by my projections, number 1 would be Sale Musgrove, a 5-man Red Sox stack of Devers, Bogarts, Betts, Martinez, Benintendi, a 2-man Red stack of Joey Votto and Tucker Barnhart, and a one-off Joe Panic.
Ooh, Nick Senzel's up.
Yes, he is.
I like it.
Yeah.
Also, I love the Reds throwing out lineups at 11 a.m.
Yeah, that too. Barnhart and Votto in there? Is that one?
Suarez is out.
Yeah.
Barnhart's out. Oh, no, Barnhart's batting ninth. Sorry.
The second highest projected lineup keeps that Barnhart-Votto combo, trades out Joe Panic for Michael Chavis, and brings in the shortstop one-off of Jordy Mercer, different person. Not a lot of fun coming into those two-man and one-offs. Zunino, Nate Lowe, Ian Desmond is another package with that Red Sox stack. Choi, Avasale, Garcia, Cervelli.
I like that.
Dozier, Carter Kieboom.
I think it's Kieboom.
And Puig. That goes with a 5-man Rays stack.
Who was it? Puig,
Kieboom, Brian Dozier with a 5-man Rays stack.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so you can clearly get, and that's what we were talking about. You know, like when I was saying that I didn't feel the need to full stack a team like the Padres or the Giants or whatever because they're cheap. Grabbing pieces is, I think, more valuable on this slate because all that happens if you full stack them is you sacrifice upside at like 3 different positions because you're playing Padres there instead of, Red Sox or whatever. And then you go from, a Joe Musgrove to a Matt Boyd and, congratulations.
Yeah. One other one, we got a 5-man Rocky stack. Drew Butera, Murphy, McMahon, Dahl, Desmond. Not exactly the murderous Rockies group. Yeah. You get Devers, Bogarts, and Avasale Garcia to fill it out.
Yeah, I mean, unless we get Robbie Ray scratched and like Matt Cook starting.
Yeah, that one's really gross. Okay, this one has Butera, Ryan McMahon. Not the best start, but Arenado, Story, Dahl. You get Puig and Schebler with Ian Kinsler. I don't mind that combination.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you're going to get Arenado and Story in there, I'm okay with getting like the dregs of the rest of the lineup.
Yeah. Yep.
Someone's bound to be on base. All right, let's look at one other pitching combination, maybe something that will change up the construction a little bit.
What if you go with like a Musgrove and Bieber or something like that?
Okay. Musgrove. I got 2 lineups with Musgrove, Bieber. Here's what I have for Musgrove. So 30 total lineups, Sale in 23 of them, and then it's Paxton, Lauer, Bieber, and Glasnow making it all up. So let's look at the 2.
Do you have any like mid-range combinations that you have more than a couple lineups of?
I doubt it, but let's see.
I assume Bieber Musgrove would be your highest.
Are we counting Kevin Gausman as a mid-tier?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He'd be the type of guy that is probably going to make this easier. How about Gausman Gibson? Is that too low?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I just want to see how it looks without any of the Sale Paxton guys.
Yeah. So the top lineup projected for Gausman Gibson gets me a 5-man Rays stack: Zunino, Choi, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz, Tommy Pham. You get McCutchen and Harper and one off Brandon Crawford.
Yeah, so that's solid.
Yeah. Or 5-man Phillies stack: Nick Williams, Harper, McCutchen, Segura, Hoskins, which is the nuts of the Philly stack. Yeah. Zunino, Brandon Lau, Manny Machado. That's the one. That lineup right there is why you dropped to Kyle Gibson.
Yep.
What's the ownership on that? You can see that now with FC Pro. Why is it not showing up? Save. And save. Oh, it is there. It was already there. I'm just crazy. Yeah, like Kyle Gibson, 2% ownership. Zunino, 3. Segura, 2. I really like that lineup, and no one's going to have it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. That is it. Coming up in 20 minutes, Awesemo Odds betting show. Ben Rasa, Jordan Frank, talking Kentucky Derby. Yahoo DFS strategy show. We're talking Yahoo specifically, running through these 13 games again, just looking at Yahoo. Myself and Jake Hari coming up at 12:45. Lofty will have the deep dive out in the early afternoon. Deeper dive, Adam coming back with Lofty, breaking down these games again with all of the updates, all of our the announced lineups, weather concerns. They'll be breaking it all down. And then Jake and I, again, closing it out live before lock, 6 to 7. I'm excited. And then we get Fast Eddie Fear breaking down basketball, 7 to 8. Anything else?
Nope.
There we go. Man, a few words. Best of luck today, guys. We're going to get out of here. Good luck.